All right, there we go. We are live. What's
What
going
is up,
on tonight,
everybody?
everybody? What's up tonight, Dan?
Oh, not too much. I got plans. So stupid me thought for some reason last week is when Godzilla versus Kong was coming out. It's actually today it came out. I've heard a lot of good things though. A lot of good things. People saying about it. People enjoying it. So I'm curious to watch it for myself and give my opinion.
Awesome. No, I think I'm excited for it. I was hoping to watch it tonight. I don't know if I'll get to it tonight, but I'm hoping maybe tomorrow night. This seems like a good Thursday night thing. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely wanting to see it. I think it's going to be a good time. I'm excited for it. All right, let's jump right into it. So we've got a couple of questions people have been wanting to know about a little bit. I know Dan's been making some new content and stuff revolving around all this type of stuff, and he wants to be able to talk about it a little bit. So I guess first up, after the success of the Snyder Cut, what is the future of the DC universe?
It's interesting because it's a little muddied right now, mainly because when the Snyder Cut came out, Warner Brothers made it very clear they want nothing. They didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole, basically. They didn't want to be part of anything. And now people are kind of singing praises to it. And like all of a sudden now, a whole slew of stuff's come out saying, Zack Snyder's come out and said, hey, look, if you guys want Justice League Part 2 and 3, which was teased incredibly heavy at the end, literally sets it up right at the end with another nightmare sequence. It's interesting because it sounds like now he's come out and said, well, fans, since you got the Snyder Cut released because you essentially wore Warner Brothers down, here's what you need to do to get this to happen. So if it happens, a lot of people now it's the hashtag restore the Snyder Cut or the Snyderverse, because that's what they're calling Man of Steel, and the whole DCEU is really supposed to be Snyder's vision, and now it's changed a lot. But really, you could easily go back through and kind of give him back. And I'm not sure. Originally, I wasn't sure if he'd want it, but I think he really is happy with the praises people have been saying, and I think he's like, yeah, I mean, I would love to do a part 2 and 3 for Justice League. And I think Warner Brothers at first I thought was really upset. Almost like, well, it's great that they brought in a lot of money from HBO Max because of it, but it doesn't set a great example because they did give in to fan demands, and it's interesting. It's definitely a what's the word I'm looking for? It's definitely a bad precedent, I think, to set, because you want to please fans, but you also don't want to have them. They're not the ones making the movie, so it's interesting. But he basically has come out and said, if you wanted enough, you let them know, and I think we can get something done. So it's interesting.
Oh, I think based on the success of the Snyder Cut, I don't think there's any question that they're gonna do everything in their power to make it happen. I would have to believe. I mean, people have been kind of singing the praises of it, and just from a pure business standpoint, I mean, why would Warner Brothers not want to do something? Whether or not it hits the big screen, or if they just roll it out as part of HBO Max and that's it. One way or another, either way, that's going to get people watching it.
Yeah, the toughest thing for me was the Snyder Cut was bittersweet. The Snyder Cut was awesome because Justice League was just such a good movie. It was such a good movie, and I wish they honestly would just retcon the original one and just say, yeah, that isn't part of continuity anymore. The Snyder Cut is, but there's a lot of things that have to happen in order for that, because they've had other movies since then. So it's interesting, and this one essentially sets up Darkseid taking over Earth. And using the anti-life equation on Superman, so he basically becomes a slave. The anti-life equation essentially means it's this mathematical equation that if you figure it out, which they find out in that Earth has the equation, if you use it on someone like Superman, essentially makes them your slave. It essentially makes them realize that life is meaningless and there's no sense of fighting for freedom, and you become basically a zombie slave type of thing. And that's what he ends up doing. The movie very clearly sets us up, and so Superman's going to be kind of the bad guy, really, in part 2, and the rest of the heroes have to team up. So it's so interesting. It's so good. Problem is, I don't know if they could do it now. You'd really have to retcon some things, but At the same time, just they've already admitted they were wrong with the first Justice League. It'd be kind of, I mean, there's really no other movie that'd be affected by it if you figured out a couple loopholes. And that's the beauty of Flashpoint Paradox. If they really used, if they, for the Flash movie, which it has been confirmed it is going to be a Flashpoint Paradox where, you know, there's time travel involved and it essentially resets the timeline. So, you know, you could change a lot of things. And I'm excited for that because you know, there's so much that could be done. I really hope that that's the next movie that's coming in because you really could change a lot of things.
Yeah, no, I think exciting stuff. I think, you know, the Snyder Cut really kind of revitalized that entire franchise because, you know, let's face it. I mean, Marvel's been kind of kicking their ass for the last, you know, however many years at this point, and they needed something. I mean, they needed something, and I agree with you on, you know, kind of your take with Batman v Superman. I actually really enjoy that movie. You know, I've watched it multiple times, and every time that I see it, I really do enjoy it. You know, it got a lot of crap from critics and stuff like that. And you know what? Okay, here's the thing. Critics don't know shit. Okay. Well, certain ones, I mean, you know, hey, the two of us, you know, we know our stuff, but you know, you get all these other critics out there. I rest my case with Last Jedi. Okay. All the critics loved Star Wars: The Last Jedi, and it was an abomination of a movie. So I rest my case right then and there. So when they say that, you know, movies like Batman v Superman are not good, I disagree. I thought it was actually a really good movie. I thought it was an interesting take on the characters, and I really personally enjoy Ben Affleck's Batman, which I know actually that's a good transition for our next topic. So there is potential rumors, is Ben Affleck going to don the cape and cowl again?
Well, so apparently it's not even necessarily like producers or anything like that. Apparently it's the studio itself. It's not just Warner Brothers, but AT&T, who owns part of HBO Max with Warner Brothers. Pretty much after the success of the Snyder Cut, and everyone especially was really happy that, you know, Ben Affleck's performance in that was so much better than the Justice League one.
Yeah.
He looked great. He looked like I mean, now granted, a lot of it was shot before a lot of his issues came up with his divorce and alcoholism and everything. But he did do a few reshoots this summer with Zack Snyder. And right at the end of the film, he's just Bruce Wayne. And, you know, I don't want to give spoilers away, but he's talking to a certain superhero who gets introduced right at the end. And it's just him sitting there. And it's at his mansion and everything. And apparently it was all green screen and everything. But Ben Affleck looked great. He looked fantastic. He didn't look, you know, he didn't have that bloated look on his face that he seemed to have during the reshoots of Justice League. And I think Warner Brothers apparently has reached out to him to see if it's something he's interested in. And he's going to come back and do the Flash movie. They already talked about that. And so is Michael Keaton, apparently, because they're, you know, like I said, Flashpoint Paradox involves multiple timelines. So you're going to have that. But I would love, and I don't want to get my hopes up too much, but I already have. I would love to have Ben Affleck come back. I think we deserve a solo Batman movie with him in it. I'm excited for the you know, Robert Pattinson one. I'm really excited for the trilogy we're going to get with that. But that one looks more. I mean, it's not quite the same. It's a different Batman, obviously. I just want to see. You know, I think he deserves, you know, his own, you know, time to shine because he really was so much better in that film. And I think Batman v Superman, like you said, is extremely underrated. I'm going to go on a limb and say I really think in 20 years, people will look back at that and say that was the best superhero movie of, I'm going to say of 2010 through 2020. I'm going to honestly say it was the best one. Better than Endgame, better than Infinity War. But I mean, I'm telling right now, I think people are going to talk about it a lot more. It's very underappreciated, and a lot of people miss.
You think they're going to say it's better than Endgame and Infinity War? Really?
It's much deeper meaning, and people don't.
Okay, wait a minute. What about Winter Soldier?
Winter Soldier is a great movie, not a superhero movie. If you think about it, it's just a great film.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's a difference, I think, and that's what bothers me though. Is things like the Martha scene. Oh, people always love to point that out. It's like it's just the fact that people get confused as to why they think it's a stupid reason they team up because both their mother's names are out and Martha. I don't want to get into that, but I'd be happy to discuss that at a different time. But that's not the reason. It's so clearly stated in the film without having to, you know, apparently they have to come out and say it and for people to understand, but I don't know. Anyway, I'm really excited. I hope it's true though, because we finally got a Batman, and I loved Christian Bale. I loved how the physicality he brought to it, but Ben Affleck brought the next level and then some. I mean, he would make someone like Bane, Tom Hardy's Bane, he would literally kick the shit out of him, wipe his ass with him, and then toss him to the curbside. And he's just so intimidating. Like if someone like Christian Bale, if I saw him in an alley with his costume and everything and the way he talks, I'd probably chuckle a little bit. If I saw Ben Affleck's Batman in an alleyway, I'd crap my pants and run the other way because he's just terrifying. And that's the whole point, is the Batman is supposed to be scary to criminals. And that's, that is what I love about it. And, obviously I don't love that he kills people and stuff, but then he redeems himself at the end of Batman v Superman, and very clearly in Justice League does not kill people anymore. So again, it's kind of clearly put in there as well. So he's definitely redeemed himself and he's back to his old ways. So really good arc there. I hope they continue it.
Yeah, I would agree. I actually really loved his portrayal. I mean, I love Christian Bale. I love Michael Keaton in that role. I mean, everybody that they've had do it, they bring a different element to it. What's that?
Except George Clooney.
Yeah.
Was already apologized for, but I'll be honest, I think
Bat nipples.
Yeah, I think Val Kilmer actually did a pretty good job too.
Yeah, I didn't mind Val Kilmer. I remember as a kid watching that movie. I mean, just over and over again and everything. Yeah. And I like Val Kilmer in that role. Yeah, George Clooney was kind of
Well, for one, George Clooney's not like an intimidating guy. Val Kilmer is kind of a bigger guy, and he made a good Batman, but he wasn't a great Bruce Wayne. Whereas I think Michael Keaton was a good Bruce Wayne, and I would argue, and I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this, I don't think he was a great Batman.
I would agree. I was going to say I think he played the role of Bruce Wayne really well. He just didn't have the physicality for Batman.
Yeah, and I think Christian Bale had both really well, especially in certain scenes. I think he was actually a better Bruce Wayne, though. But I just think I don't know. I think Ben Affleck as both, and you see it in the Snyder Cut. 4-hour movie. He's Bruce Wayne for 2 hours of it, and just does Bruce Wayne things. He bribes Aquaman to join the team by paying him like $10,000. Just great things like that, and just like, yeah, basically, if you come help me with this, I'm going to pay you this money, and it's awesome. I can't help it. You gotta love it.
Yeah, no, I do. I hope he ends up coming back in whatever form we get him. I mean, it may not be a whole movie or something like that. It could just be a cameo a few different times or something. But I think bring him back. I just like his portrayal of Batman. I'm excited to see Robert Pattinson. I honestly was shocked when they first announced him for the new movie. Like I was shocked about it, but all the pictures and stuff that are coming out, he looks pretty good. And the trailer, he looked pretty badass.
Oh my God. I remember, because when Ben Affleck, I remember where I was in 2013 when Ben Affleck was announced. It was July of 2013. And as sad as this remember I was in a Burger King drive-thru and Steph told me Ben Affleck, and I had a meltdown. Probably like a temper tantrum, like your 2-year-old daughter would have. And then I kind of reflected on it after a couple months, and I saw him in the costume finally, and I was like, God damn, he looks amazing. He's got the face for it, he's got the chin for it, and he's got the body for it. Ben Affleck's a bigger build. And then I heard Robert Pattinson, and I remember Steph, my wife, was telling me, thinking like I was going to lose it again. And I kind of thought, and I said, okay, I could see that. She's like, what? And I'm like, he's got the jaw structure.
I was going to say he's got the jawline, which I think that's a big defining factor. I don't know. When I first heard it, the only thing I could keep picturing in my mind was Harry Potter, where he plays Cedric Diggory. Like I'm just sitting there like picturing him. I'm like, oh man, they're like two totally different characters.
But as soon as I found out, I'm like, I've never really seen him in anything. I've never seen the Twilight movies, and I probably never will. But I was like, I've never seen him in anything. So I finally sat down and I watched The Lighthouse, which is with him, and I love Willem Dafoe.
Oh, good. I thought you were gonna say Twilight. I was gonna say we're ending this. We're ending this right now if you say Twilight.
No, we sat down. I sat down the one night and I watched The Lighthouse, and it's an odd movie, but he is fantastic in it, and he's such a good actor. And I'm like, okay, that's all I need. And then I saw the trailer, and it blew me away. It absolutely blew me away. It's gonna be it's gonna be a completely different twist on the Batman, and I love that he's referred to as the Batman in this. And I know it's a nerd thing, but it's nice to see that he's finally referred to that way. So I'm really excited. I hope we see like kind of with the success of Joker with a standalone universe. I'm hoping that with the Batman, you get your trilogy over there that we can enjoy, but you also get your Ben Affleck in the DCEU. I hope we get both. And
yeah,
I know it's probably too much to ask, but I really hope we do.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. Exciting times. Like I said, I think the Snyder Cut being successful like it was opens up a whole lot of options that honestly before that Warner Brothers and DC really didn't have a whole lot of options prior to that. So I mean they were kind of on life support at that point, you know. And it's funny because like it seems like those movies, you know, prior to all that, people either loved them or they hated them. You know, Wonder Woman was great. People loved it and it was a very good movie. But then a lot of the other ones, you know, even I thought Man of Steel was really good. But that got, you know, okay reviews from critics, but it wasn't anything that was like overwhelmingly positive like you see with a lot of the Marvel movies.
Yeah, I love Man of Steel. I loved Aquaman. Actually, Aquaman really surprised me. I did not think I'd like that. I loved it. Shazam was probably my biggest surprise. I really enjoyed Shazam. Was a lot of fun. The new Suicide Squad film looks really, really good.
I can say I think the best thing they could have done was bring in James Gunn for that, because that has a totally different vibe to it, and that's like the perfect person to bring in for that. I mean, because that is basically the DC version of Guardians. So I mean, that's like perfect.
Yeah, the trailer was hilarious. I was surprised they dropped the F-bomb about 4 times in the trailer. And I'm like,
it's going to have great music. You know it's going to have great music.
100%. And I'm glad they brought back some of the characters who worked. They brought back Viola Davis for Amanda Waller. They brought back Margot Robbie for Harley Quinn. The dude who plays Rick Flag I thought was good. And then they pretty much was like, yep, everyone else is there. They didn't exist anymore. This is new. So like, okay, I can deal with that.
Yep.
And that's why I hope that they, even if with the Justice League, if they need to do a soft reset where if Ben Affleck doesn't want to play Batman anymore, bring in someone who's very similar to him and give me that same Batman. That's all I want. I don't necessarily need him, but like bring someone, an older, grizzled Batman for the Justice League. It works. It just seems to work.
Who would you bring in for that?
I'll be honest. Trying to think, it's tough because Batman's a tough character because you have to be at least 6'2". You have to be between 6'2" to 6'4" usually.
As you say, you got to be good size.
You have to generally you have to be a bigger guy, and that's why I liked about Batman Begins. Christian Bale was a bigger, and then he kind of trimmed down every movie. Like I feel like he got smaller and smaller every movie. You definitely have to have you have to have this intimidating presence. You have to play 2 characters. You have to play Bruce Wayne, which is entirely different than Batman. You have to play this playboy millionaire kind of ditz, and then whereas Robert Downey Jr. does great playing Tony Stark, Iron Man, but they're the same person. You're not
everybody knows who it is. So
so you have to play this intimidating, make people shit their pants character, and then also this other one where people laugh at him because he's clumsy and he's a drunk playboy. He doesn't know anything. He's stupid. So it's I don't know. I'd have to think on that. I'd have to think if it wasn't him, an older actor who would fit the profile. I'm trying to think of one that I would really like. Although I wouldn't have I wouldn't have handpicked Ben Affleck either until I heard him. So I don't know. That's a really good question. I'll have to chew on that for a while. Now there's talks of the Joker. They're going to do a Joker sequel, which I'm sure they will, and over $1 billion. A lot of people want to see a Batman in that one. It's like, but don't muddy up what's good. And honestly, I hope they don't do it. Give us a different story. Joker was good because it was this bubble. It was in this bubble. It was in this unique world. Yes. And I think most of it's interpreted that most of it never actually really happened. It was all in his head. So what's the point? Why even bother with a second one?
Right.
Leave it be. It was a great film. Give us a different character. There's so many characters in DC you could work with. I mean, just with Batman's character, there's so many you could work with. You could do a tragedy of Harvey Dent. You could do a really cool crime thriller with Black Mask with Roman Sionis. This guy who is a criminal, warlord, but also runs a successful, legitimate, empire for cosmetics. So there's so many things you could do. It's just it kind of makes me mad that it's like, oh, let's come out with a sequel for that when you could do so much other, so many other things. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think for Ben Affleck? If you had to pick another, I know it's not like I'm going to think of this real quick. I want to think of it before we get off, and that'll be my final okay, I'm going to say it, and it's probably Armie Hammer, and I know he's going through some shit.
Yeah.
He's getting some shit right now because of his agent left him and everything. There's a lot of allegations on him, which I don't know either way. They sound pretty unsubstantial. They sound very almost too like out there, like cannibalism and stuff. People are accusing him of. I don't know. You kind of, if it's not true, you feel bad for the guy. If it is true, then he needs therapy. But he has got that presence. I mean, he's played.
Yeah.
Timothy. How do you say his name? Timothy Olyphant or whatever. He's played in a lot of. He's been like Hitman and stuff.
Okay. Yeah. They got the physicality for that.
Yeah, and they're older. They're in their mid-40s, and that's what I want to see. I want to see an older, basically a Batman who's he's been doing it for 20 years, and he doesn't give a fuck anymore. He just, he wants to just beat him to a pulp and put him on life support so they aren't back on the street anymore. I don't know. I like that. So, but, all right. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's all I've got. Guys, as always, appreciate everybody tuning in. Are we doing tomorrow night or are we waiting until next week?
We're going to be doing it next Monday. We'll be doing it.
Sounds good. So we will catch everybody next Monday. Dan wants to watch Kong versus Godzilla versus Kong. Sorry. Got to make sure we get that right.
Yep. Yeah, I already watched the 1966 version. You saw, I sent you a picture of the one night. I was watching it about a month ago. So
yep.
But yeah, I'll we'll do like a little walkthrough on that and kind of give it a review, I guess you could say, on Monday, and we'll talk about it then.
Sounds good. Everybody have a great rest of the night or day, depending on when you're watching this. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Go right to YouTube. It's under Movie Buffs. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And yeah, that's it.
Have a good one, guys.